What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I'm joined alongside my co-host, my partners in crime, Brock Davis and Nate Green. Fellas, not everybody at once. How you doing? I'm kidding. Everybody at once. Go ahead. Just throw it out there.
Very good.
Good. Good. Got a little football going on. Get one day closer to Angels baseball being back. I think we are probably, actually, honestly, I don't know the exact date, but almost pretty close to exactly 1 month away from, no, we're less than a month away from pitchers and catchers reporting. I think pitchers and catchers report on the 15th and 16th. We are sitting here Sunday, the 22nd, so 3 weeks away. I'm getting excited just talking about it. So before we get everything going here, guys, just want to thank you all so much for listening to this podcast here at Talking Halos. Again, subscribe wherever you guys are listening. Comment down below if you are on YouTube. Along the way, as we roll here, we got some questions for you guys here to kind of go along with this too. Thank you for those who have replied to fantasy baseball. We'll be getting back to you ASAP. We want to get stuff rolling here real quick. And again, if you want to join fantasy baseball here at Talking Halos, we're going to have quite a few leagues rolling. You can shoot us a DM on Twitter or Instagram and Facebook, wherever you guys feel most comfortable doing so. You can get on to talkinghalos.com. There's a little questionnaire, not a questionnaire, but there's like a little question spot down at the bottom. If you scroll down, go straight to CEO and founder of Talking Halos, Derek Ciapala. So you can also hit him up and say hi, as well as say that you want to be in on fantasy baseball, which I know you guys are all so excited about because fantasy baseball is a fantastic thing to do. You can go ahead and follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Timms, Nate at NateGreen34, Brock at BDROX8. Follow us on all our social media, subscribe wherever you are listening. So guys, let's get this rolling here. Couple, I guess, kind of interesting notes here. And I want to get you guys' opinion, Nate. I know yours, Brock. Throw it out there. I'm very intrigued to know what you're thinking here on this. But the Angels are, according to sources, linked to Trevor Bauer. I'm hesitant, but Brock, I want to know your thought here and see if maybe we can get a little debate sparked or something along the lines of that on the Trevor Bauer front. Because I think if listeners know and listen before, know mine and Nate's thoughts on this. But Brock, go ahead. Thoughts on Trevor Bauer? Do you think he fits? Do you think that the Angels might actually push for him?
So obviously, I'm not one of the people that listen to my own podcast I'm involved in. So I don't know your guys' opinion before I'm going to say what I'm about to say. I think I know where you guys stand on this. So I don't think it's going to be controversial. I haven't heard that they've been linked to them. So that's actually news to me. I haven't heard that.
One of three teams in on Bauer. Supposedly, I don't know how true it is, but that was just something that was thrown out there.
Do we know the other two?
No. Pittsburgh? I feel like I saw Pittsburgh. Maybe not though. Pittsburgh. I think we talked about.
I didn't see any team linked with it. Was one team had like called them and said no, and then the Angels, and then there was one other team who had called them and there was interested, and you didn't know who.
Yeah, so as of right now, it's more or less that Angels have checked in on Trevor Bauer situation.
I think it was like haven't said no, right? Type of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Like they're considering it in a sense because league minimum and all that fun stuff. So.
Right. So my personal opinion is no. The only reason I say no is Perry's talking about how he wants the clubhouse culture to be the way that it has been, and kind of just me and Jared, you and I have had this conversation. I think it was pre-Nate, but I know Nate 100% is going to be on board with the same exact thing, which is we've all played in a clubhouse, and that culture and that vibe that you have in there is more important than a lot of other factors. And you bring in, I don't want to say Trevor Bauer is a cancer per se.
You can say that if you want. It's okay.
But you could also say that even if he actually isn't, it also could be a perceived cancer, right? Because perception is reality. So regardless of whether he did it, whether he didn't, he was guilty, none of that really matters to a certain extent. The point of the matter is he was suspended for a long time. He's had history even prior to this whole incident with Garrett Cole and UCLA. And there's already clubhouse things that we talked about before all this stuff happened when he was a free agent that we said we were unsure about Trevor Bauer. I remember that on the podcast. We were like, well, he seems kind of sketchy for the clubhouse. And now you add this whole thing. I think it'd be a really bad idea, but it's obviously very tempting to be like, well, how much do you want to win, right? Do you care more about how the guys feel or management feels, or do you want to get a potential ace for league minimum, right? But I still stand by, I've said it multiple times on this show, that the culture and the things that the Angels have built themselves on is they've always prided themselves on not bringing in those types of individuals into that clubhouse. You know, people that have had criminal offenses in the past, perceived criminal offenses in the past. They don't really bring those guys in.
Even steroid users too.
Yeah,
Like
steroid users. None of them.
Yeah.
So that's always been an Angels thing. And that's one of the reasons why I've stood by the Angels for so long. And I've always had the running joke of like, oh, don't worry, the Yankees or the Dodgers will sign him. That's always been my running joke. So I don't feel they should. I don't think they will. But I think it would be a failure of management and those beyond if the fans or the media knew that they didn't check in on them or on him, if that makes sense. So I think it's kind of a due diligence type of thing. Don't think it's going to happen.
Nate, I'll let you say our piece because we're on the same page, I think. I don't have to say it twice. So
yeah, no, Trevor Bauer's a no. It's just not going to happen. There's really no reason to bring him in. He hasn't pitched in 2.5, almost 3 years, and you really don't know what it's going to look like yet. I mean, I think we've seen 91, 92 out of him. I think that's the best I've seen on video. And
by the way, so sidebar here, somebody actually commented on YouTube on one of our YouTubes when we talked about Bauer that we didn't do our due diligence and research. That being said, he's hit 97.
Okay,
on YouTube videos with very good editing, with a very good promotional team, with a very good agent.
No, I'm not playing with that crap. Like, no, when you see most of his videos and most of them are 91, 92, 93, like I'm not playing with the 97 one time. Like, no. So yeah. He's too much of a cancer. And yes, I'm going to use the cancer word. Like, he was already a cancer. He's been a cancer his entire career. It's not like this is brand new thing. Like, oh, he has the investigation and now all of a sudden he's a cancer. Dude's been a cancer his entire career. Since high school. And there's just no reason to bring you in. So I think he's one of the most overrated players in baseball, honestly.
Yeah. And I agree with both of you guys. I think Brock, you bring a fantastic point. They've never even brought in like the steroid users either. Like it's never even been a thought. And I guess you kind of probably got to tip the cap to Artie on that, especially, with, I mean, steroids or not, whatever you want to say about it. Probably saying no go to any of those guys. But yeah, if you want to say he's a cancer in the clubhouse, that's perfectly fine. I think that he is. I just don't know where he fits. I'm intrigued to know where he goes, how he pitches. Go ahead. You raise your hand. What do you got?
What's sad is when you just said something about tip the cap to Artie, this is kind of dark, but it makes me wonder if it was truly ever a culture thing or if it was a harm the reputation to make less money thing, which is fair, I guess, right? But I think that there's organizations out there that care slightly less about the reputation and say, hey, we lose 50,000 fans from this. Guess what? We're going to get a ring. And they care less about that versus, well, we're always this organization. We're going to maintain our fans, gain more tickets, more sales. And that, I hope to think that that's not how these owners think, but sometimes it's hard to not think that way.
No, I mean, 100%. When it comes down to it, I'd say 30 out of 30 owners, it comes down to money for every single one of them. 100%. It definitely does.
29.
Well, no, I think it still comes down, like Steve Cohen still cares about money.
Yeah, but it doesn't come down to money. If it came down to money, he wouldn't be at $197 million right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it's for Steve Cohen. It's fine. 29 out of 30 guys, it comes down to money.
There you go.
So yeah, and I mean, again, to go off of it, I think we've all mentioned it in the past. Like the Angels haven't been the same in the clubhouse since Torrey Hunter left. And in all honesty, that's probably been as long it's been as long as that since they've actually had like a legitimate clubhouse, I think. And I mean, obviously we're not in the clubhouse and we don't know things, but with what's come out about certain things, it wouldn't surprise me. And Perry's done a good job of building up a clubhouse that we haven't heard too many issues. I know, Nate, you roll your eyes and all that.
We'll see.
We will see.
The only one I could think of that had a pass before he came to us was Josh Hamilton, but that was like had a pass. It was a while ago. It was figured out. We thought it was done and over with. But then as soon as everything happened, they were very quick to get him out. A little too quick.
Oh yeah, no. When
something
harsh. I said when something happened with Hamilton, I texted, and I'll be like transparent about this. I texted Taylor Blakewater right away, and I was like, "This is the last time we're ever going to see Josh Hamilton in Angels uniform. Like he's not coming back. I'm going to guarantee you that it's just not going to be a thing." Come to find out, yep, that was it. So,
by the way, clubhouse issues. I think Perry's first acquisition was a clubhouse issue, if I remember correctly. So,
who?
Jose Iglesias. Yes. Yeah.
No,
don't give me that.
No.
That's fine. Give me that.
That's fine. That's fine. So, but more so of a steroid, more so drugs, of a criminal.
Yeah. But I'm just saying. From a clubhouse perspective, he is known to not be great in the clubhouse.
That's fine. That's fine. So, I think we can nail it down here. We might bring it up with Derek at some point. We'll see if anything comes out in the news with Trevor Bauer and the Angels. I would assume it doesn't happen, but you never know. You never know with what's going on.
Savannah bananas.
Yeah. I mean, well, without getting in too much farther, I saw Roberto Ozuna is playing in Korea, so he could go play in Korea. I just didn't think that cultural fit would really work in any like Japan or Korea or something like that. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. He's always wanted to play there, and best luck to him. I don't see him playing at in Major League Baseball anytime soon, but we'll see how it goes. With that being said, have a couple questions for you guys here. In more so Angels history related rather than current right now, since there's not a lot of news out there other than Trevor Bauer. We could talk about automated strike zone, but that's, it is what it is. I want to stick with Angels stuff for now. So I threw some questions out there on Twitter earlier today. I don't know if anybody of you guys saw it. Hopefully you guys didn't do too much research into it. If you guys did, it is what it is, but we'll just kind of rattle off a couple of these questions here for you guys. And Brock, I'll start with you, Nate. You can add in after. Who had the better career as an Angel? Tim Salmon, Darren Erstad, Garrett Anderson, or Vlad? This is our time here too. Like I'm not throwing in like the Rod Crew, Bobby Grich quite yet. This is prime us, as mid-20s, almost getting into our 30s. This is when we went to games a lot. I would assume we saw a lot of these guys on a daily basis. So this is kind of a fun one for me, in my opinion.
So the question is, who had the best career
as an Angel?
As an Angel.
So nothing after. So like not Vlad with Montreal, not not Erstad in Houston, not Anderson with the Dodgers, nothing like that. But as an Angel, you had 3 guys that won World Series there. And if you need some time to think about it, I can drop down to Nate and see if Nate wants to answer this first. I'll let you think.
No, I think I'm good. It's hard not to say Vlad. What was it? 04 he won the 04 he won the MVP?
Yeah, won the MVP, went into the Hall of Fame as an Angel, is a Hall of Famer. None of these other guys.
But I feel like I can't remember how many years he played with Montreal before he came to Anaheim. But like if I had to guess off the top of my head, just statistically in times of Anaheim, I want to say Tim Salmon probably had an overall better career in Anaheim than Vlad did. But I think Vlad had a better overall career. So I'm gonna go with my gut without looking at any stats. I'm gonna say Tim Salmon had the best Angels career of that group.
Opinion based here as well. You don't need to look at stats or anything like that, but opinion based, especially this one with, I think these were probably all some of our favorite players growing up. So Nate, what do you got? Not even, you can go bias too if you want, because like I'll probably go bias.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, are we actually talking WAR here? Because that's gonna penalize Salmon because of the outfield play and things like that. I just don't think Vlad played long enough with the Angels to say he did better than Tim Salmon, who had the most home runs in Angels history until Mike Trout took that. Anderson is up there. I think Garrett Anderson low key, like
Mhm.
he was one of the most like hated Angels players. It felt like because he wasn't. They said he didn't hustle. They said he didn't play good enough defense. This and that. But quietly, you look at the numbers, and he is up there in almost all the categories when it comes to home runs, RBIs, doubles, runs scored, like all these numbers. Personally, my favorite of the group is Erstad, but for some reason, I think Anderson had quietly the best career out of those guys.
Statistically speaking, Tim Salmon had the highest WAR, Fangraphs WAR out of all these guys as an Angel. Biased wise, I'd say Vlad just because that's when I was like prime Angels, watching Angels all the time. I came kind of in under like the end of Salmon's career. I was at Salmon's last game. GA, I was at his 10 RBI game. I think Nate, you were probably there with me. Against the Dodgers, 9 RBI game, 10 RBI game, whatever it was. And then Darren Erstad just played the I think like as a little leaguer, that was how everybody wanted to play, was as Darren Erstad. You know, he wasn't Salmon or wasn't, you know, Anderson or Vlad or anybody like that. It was like Erstad, go out there and play as hard as Erstad. So this is a tough one for me. If you guys are watching on YouTube, drop it below. I'm intrigued to know what you guys think as well. I'll say Vlad just because biased for me, statistically speaking, I'll say Salmon. So
Eckstein too. Eckstein hustled like that too.
Yep. That was always it. It was either like, I mean, I remember my dad telling me always like, go out there and play like Erstad, go out there and play like Eckstein all the time. So, you know, we're on, you know, hard 60s, I guess, in the league, hard 90s in the league, you know, dive for balls, get dirty, you know, and all that stuff. So, with that being said, let's move on to a couple pitchers here. Who had, and I'll start with Nate this time, who had the better career as an Angel, Chuck Finley, Nolan Ryan, or Jared Weaver?
That's a good one. It's funny when you think of the old time Angels, the first guy that comes to mind is actually Chuck Finley, and then Nolan Ryan. I think just because Finley started his career, it felt like he started his career and ended his career with the Angels. I know he played with another team, but it just felt like Finley was with the Angels for his entire career.
Underrated as an Angel too. Hated, like not hated by the front office. I feel like now, like
felt like, hey, you know, maybe he isn't really an ace, even though he was their ace, kind of thing. Where it's like, so this is going to be a biased opinion again. I'm going to go Jared Weaver. I know Ryan had the strikeouts, which is huge for WAR and things like that. But I'm going to go Jared Weaver for a couple reasons. One, he spent his entire career with the Angels. Two, he took a hometown discount for the Angels. And three, he was just that bulldog that, you know, kind of those intangibles that we don't talk about with everyone else when it comes to, you know, Ryan had the same kind of thing where it was, you know, just who gives a crap? I'm just going to go out there and strike everyone out. But I really think just what Weaver had to do, he went from throwing 97 to 87, and 87 is probably even generous. And he just pitched, you know, it was awesome. He was out there. It felt like every fifth day, like didn't miss too many starts. So biased opinion, Jared Weaver.
Brock, Finley, Ryan, Weaver. What do you got?
Yeah, I got to say the same thing, because if I would have answered the last question, it would have been Salmon best, Vladdy biased, and this I'm going to go the same way. I think Ryan probably statistically WAR. I think during his time, just like Nate said with the strikeouts, he was probably the best. But once again, biased, exactly what Nate said. I got to go Jared Weaver. I just brought this up to my wife the other day, how I watched the Chargers hype video going into the wild card round, and I said, man, like, they're so fired up. They're so passionate. They're yelling at each other. They're like, put your boots on and all that. And I'm like, I wish a lot of like more baseball teams had this, specifically the Angels. And I'm like, we haven't had any type of that bulldog fire up mentality since a guy like Jared Weaver, right? He's yelling at people when they're getting off the mound. John Lackey is another name that comes to mind. Both of them, they were just dogs, dude. Like his whole Kyle Seager incident, like I miss that passion. And like Nate said, dude, Jared Weaver was, he was borderline dominant for a good stretch, and he was consistent. Like he was dependable and just had that dog in him. So I'm going to say Jared Weaver.
Again, that's totally fine. Grew up watching Weaver, and I'm cool with that. Like I'd also say Weaver just because of that. And I'm actually not going to say Weaver, by the way. Statistically speaking, Chuck Finley had the highest Fangraphs WAR as an Angel.
Really?
Also has the highest Fangraphs WAR in Angels history as a starting pitcher, as a pitcher in general. Which is close second is Nolan Ryan, who that would be me. That's my pick with the best career as an Angel, Nolan Ryan. statistically speaking, and also like if nobody has actually gone onto YouTube and looked up, you can watch Nolan Ryan's actual starts. Absolute blast. I suggest doing that on a day off or rainy day or something like that. Go watch Nolan Ryan pitch. So much fun, especially if you're younger like us and never saw Ryan pitch at all. Absolute blast. I think one of the most fun pitchers to watch. That's why I'm going to say Ryan, because I've been able to go back and watch some starts, and just the fastball, curveball, 2 pitches. I'm going to go out there and no bullshit, just gonna chuck, and it's a lot of fun to watch that. Weaver, 100%. I was at his no hitter. Absolute blast. Like that was fantastic. Chuck Finley, one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball history. Not even in Angels history, in baseball history, borderline Hall of Famer. There's not a wrong answer for me, in my opinion. I think, Angel fans don't appreciate Chuck Finley. Late, 90s guy, and the Angels didn't win a lot. It was kind of like that Felix Hernandez type of thing in Seattle, where he didn't compile the wins, but he was one of the best pitchers in baseball year in and year out for that stretch of period. So there isn't a wrong answer, in my opinion. Would love to know what everybody else thinks. If you're watching us on YouTube, drop it below. Nolan Ryan's my guy, by the way, there. I love Weaver, but Nolan Ryan, I think it's too much fun to go watch replays of him pitching. So next one, got a couple more pitchers. You know what? Let's skip this one because it's a little older. It was going to be between Witt, Tanana, and Lackey. I'm not going to go that route. I think it's 3 totally different generational. We don't. Let's not get into a discussion. Just throw out a name right off the bat. Mike Witt, Frank Tanana, John Lackey. Nate, what do you got?
Yeah, this is going to be a personal one. It's just going to be a personal one for me. My uncles played with this guy. My grandfather coached this guy. It's going to be Mike Witt, the no hitter.
SoCal guy, 100%. Yeah, no.
Certified guy. I'm going to go Mike Witt.
Yep. Brock, what do you got?
Probably personal favorite Lackey, but if I had to guess best, I'd probably say Tanana.
Between them, I think it was Witt that had the highest Fangraphs WAR. But I'm with you just off like recency bias and watching him pitch. John Lackey, like Jared Weaver, was just too much fun to kind of watch pitch. So, though I would assume Mike Witt would have been an absolute blast. I think he's a SoCal high school kid. I think I could totally be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking
Servite.
I thought
he was Servite.
Regardless, SoCal kid.
My uncles play with him in Little League and stuff like that. My grandfather coached him in Little League, so SoCal kid for sure.
Great, perfect. Which one do I want to go to next? We'll bring a couple over into the next podcast too. So if you guys are wanting a couple more of these, which I think these were kind of fun to do. Last one here before we let everybody go. Who had the better career as an Angel? Troy Glaus, Sean Figgins, Howie Kendrick, or Eric Ibar? Brock, I'll let you think about it because I know this is another tough one.
That one's so hard.
I think you're looking at stats. Don't do it.
I'm not looking at stats. I was just double checking to make sure Witt was at Servite, and I was right.
Was he a Servite guy? That's pretty. Yep. That's good. That's cool.
Okay. Say him one more time. Howie, Ibar, Figgins, Glaus.
Yep. Howie, Ibar, Figgins, or Glaus. Who had the better career as an Angel? I'll start it off. I'll let you guys think because I put these out and I've been thinking about it for a minute.
And you know the
biased. Troy Glaus is my favorite player of all time on the Angels. Position player, let's say that, behind Mike Trout, I guess. I love Glaus. Glaus was my guy coming up. In Little League, I wore 25 because of him. Started off, I think, wearing 14 from what I remember. And then went into 25. Absolutely loved Glaus. Loved the way he hit. Just a freaking beautiful swing. Like one of the nicest swings out there. Just nice, easy. That's my guy. Though you can't go wrong. Sean Figgins had that one good year that kind of bolsters up stats. But he was a lot of fun World Series winner. And I mean, Howie Kendrick and Eric Ibar, not lifelong Angels, but were on the Angels long enough that it was just, that was a duo up the middle for 10 years, it felt like. So you can't go wrong with either one of those guys. But for me, it's Troy Glaus. Brock, what do you got?
See, this is hard because the question isn't who's our favorite, right? The question is who's the best.
I mean, you can take this question and whatever you want. It's just who had the better career as an Angel. You can look at it statistically. You can look at it as your favorite player.
Because to me, there's no way that any other 3 of those guys had a statistically better career as an Angel than Troy Glaus did. There's no way. No way. I think Figgins and Kendrick might have edged close because of the overall package, but Glaus has had to have the best career of those 4, but my favorite for sure, probably Eric Ibar, because I was kind of getting diehard into him kind of in the middle or towards the end of Troy Gloss, I would say. And when Eric Ibar started, I remember I had an Easton shortstop glove that I used playing shortstop, and I had him sign it right here on where I would see it. And I thought it gave me superpowers. So every time I made a diving play, I'd smack right where he autographed it. And I had that glove for, man, I was probably 6 years old. I would try to, no, maybe a little, or like 8 years old, and try to wear it all the way through middle school. And then it got way too small. And I'm like, but it has the powers. I can't get rid of it. So Eric Ibar just had that, like, that defensive magicianness that I first witnessed as a kid that I really like. So I like Ibar, but statistically, I got to say Gloss probably.
Nate.
Yeah. I just love the early era. I think that's like my most fond memories of the Angels. So you look at Gloss, you look at Anderson and Erstad and Salmon, Eckstein, Kennedy, all those guys. It's got to be Gloss for me. Like you said, growing up, Gloss is top 2, top 3. You know, you're somewhere in the Erstad, Gloss, Salmon range, maybe Anderson, of like who's your favorite of that team. So I'm going to go with Troy Gloss. One of the saddest days is when he did not come back as an Angel. I believe it was Arizona that he went to, and it was just like, man, this sucks. Like, this was the guy that, you know, was just, it just felt like he was always up in big moments, getting big hits. Like, Salmon had some big hits, Erstad had some big hits, Anderson, but like, I don't know. I think when you think of the 2002 team, like, the first big hit you really think of is the double in left center from Gloss. And I don't know, that's just such a biased answer for me, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's where my thinking of the swing comes into play. Statistically speaking, Howie Kendrick 23.1 Fangraphs WAR, Sean Figgins 22.2 Fangraphs WAR, Troy Gloss 20.7 Fangraphs WAR, Eric Ibar. Eric Ibar played the most games as an Angel out of those 4, by the way, at 1,200 games, 19.5 Fangraphs WAR. So
I can't believe that.
Hitting wise, Gloss actually had a 120 WRC plus there, so he had the highest out of all those. So depending on what you view, you know, that's where the value comes into play. If you look at a better defender, it's Eric Ibar, better defender out of all those guys. You look at it offensively, Troy Gloss, and you look at kind of combined, very very similar stats as Angels, not even value wise for sure, but you know. Howie Kendrick and Sean Figgins, very, very, very similar. Of course, Figgins was a lot faster, had more of the stolen bases, but defensively and offensively speaking, I think it was Howie had a 107 WRC plus. Figgins had a 106 WRC plus as an Angel. So
wow,
very, very similar. Yeah, no, that a lot of fun. I enjoyed looking those stats up because it's a lot of fun seeing everybody's reactions to those. So, guys, without any other interruptions here, we'll let you all go. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Check us out at talkinghalos.com. Again, drop a like, subscribe wherever you guys are listening or watching. You can follow us on all of our social medias. Just look up Talking Halos. You can follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Timms, Brock at BDROX, and Nate at NateGreen34. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.